Boom. Are we live? I think we're live. I don't know. I'm just going to start talking like we're live. What's up, everybody? It's Erik J. Olson, and I got a special guest. Who's my special guest? Introduce yourself.
Hello, what's up, folks? Zack Miller here. Also, sometimes known as Zack Miller Says, depending on who you're talking to. That's Z-A-C-K, because parents did not name me Zach.
Boom.
Miller.
Are we live?
What's up, Erik? How are you, buddy?
I think we're live. What do you have to say?
Well, it's warm out today.
You look really distracted. What is going on there? You got your eyes are shifty, man. You're looking at something.
Well, I'm trying to share this video for you guys.
All right, you are multitasking. Don't worry, man. We got a whole crew back at the office. Well, not at the office. We got a whole office crew that is working remote, as am I, to take care of all those things. So we're promoting it. It's cool. Hey, man. So, yeah, I'm at home. So we were supposed to be doing Marketers Anonymous down in Waterside right now, but we had to cancel. I'm kind of bummed about that. So what we wanted to do was bring Marketers Anonymous to you live through live stream. So this is a live stream that we do every single week on Fridays at noon. And normally when we have an in-person event at Waterside, we actually broadcast that event. But nothing is live in person these days anymore. So the world has changed. How's it affected you, Zach?
So far, nothing. So, like, honestly, I think about things from a, emotional and family standpoint. I have family members that are a little older, so that freaks me out a little bit. And from a business perspective, my in-person meetings are now online, which honestly, sometimes they're like that anyway. I've been doing live stuff and interviews and stuff like that for the better part of, even in the early 2000s, 08, 09, 10. So I've been doing this for a long time. The biggest inconvenience, and this is, I'm not taking this lightly, but is that the pool closed. That's it. But I've been living a remote kind of lifestyle like this for a long time. So for people that are freaking out about it, like, it's a lot better now than it was in like 2010. Like, it was difficult. You had literally had to download all these crazy files and everything. And it's way better that say this loosely. It's better that it happened now rather than 15 years ago. I mean, I think it would have been harder from the remote workforce at that point. Sure. But from a standpoint of my life changing, nothing serious has happened yet. And hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah. So for us, it's, you work remotely or at home all the time. We don't. We do have a couple of employees that work from home in different states. So a couple in Florida, one in Nashville.
Right.
And we started off.
Well, Nashville's had a bad couple of weeks because I talked to Jamal the other day, and he's basically had 2-3 straight weeks of wildness.
Yeah, because he had the tornadoes. So,
right.
But the good thing about us in this situation from a remote working standpoint is we already have people that are working remote, and the whole company supports that. And when we formed 3 years ago, we brought in the technologies that we had at the time, and both Kevin and I were basically a remote team that just worked locally. So everything that we do is cloud-based. I'm 99% cloud-based. The only thing is I have a Mac, but the only real thing that I use this MacBook Pro for, is to get onto Chrome. And so when this thing finally kicks the bucket, I want to go to a Chromebook. I want to go back to a Chromebook. Yeah. So I like Chromebooks when they came out, and they're more powerful now. So you just don't really need anything that you do on your computer. And really the sticky point is a video processing. You can do online. There's online versions of it, but we're doing a Hangout right now, right? So this is built into our company. So for us, it was very, very simple. We actually went remote the last 2 weeks of 2019, the week before Christmas and the week after. And so we're used to it. Everything is remote anyways. And so on Friday, we just, I just decided, all right, everybody, we're working remote. And
a lot of your clients, do you do these calls anyway remotely like this, right?
We do, which is interesting because a lot of our clients are local clients, and we don't actually see most of them that often. We'll see them in the beginning of the sales process and for the kickoff meeting, but there's a lot of clients where we don't ever even see them after the kickoff meeting. Everything is email and Hangouts after that. So we're a remote company. We just happen to have an office, and there's most of our people here in the Norfolk area.
Got it. Yeah. What made you start doing that?
Honestly, it was just easy. So when it was just me when it was just me, I just went right to G Suite. It was simple. It was cheap. It was like $5 or $7 a month to use to get a G Suite or Gmail for Business account. And so I didn't have to take care. I didn't have to worry about anything. Like it was my entire IT infrastructure for $5. So I've heard of stories of bigger companies where they're stress testing whether they can even support remote work, and so they're sending a workforce of thousands of people home, and then they discover these people can't log into any systems. They don't even have a laptop, so they have to use their home computer. So some of these companies are really like in a world of pain, which
The
is
laptop
surprising.
thing the laptop thing is interesting to me. I remember there was a big snowstorm in Norfolk. Big snowstorm. Like there was snow in Norfolk several years ago, and there was a few inches, and it took Dominion Enterprises out, and they had to close their entire building. I think they have like 1,000 employees at the time. And what's interesting is Joe Fuller, who at the time was their CIO, since retired, was telling me, he was like, it was surprising. We didn't realize how many people would be fine remotely. And actually, everyone was fine. And so they had their VPNs and all the credentials that were necessary, and they were ready for something like that. And so, what's interesting to me is thinking about like laptops, right? How many people are working on laptops at an office? How many people are working on a desktop from an office perspective? Those are the things that like are interesting from a business perspective. Like, are they ready to be mobile in that kind of case? But I mean, the word digital nomad is something that people have been throwing around for a long time. And so the first thing I would say, anyone that's like freaked out about this, just be like, you're online all day anyway. So like, if you can get on Facebook and post a picture or a video, you basically can do anything else too. Right.
Yeah.
And so take a deep breath. You'll be okay. It might be inconvenient, but it's not like things. Everyone knows how to do Facebook. Everyone knows how to basically do anything online now. And it's basically an extension of that. And so, yes, they might not have their best setup or their 3 monitors set up. How many monitors do you have at your house? Like 7, Eric? I know you do.
No, I just have the laptop. That's it.
Yeah. And so, yes, from that standpoint, things might be a little weird. You might not have your favorite mouse and things like that. But like, what's the joke or the meme that people throw, like third world issues or whatever, not having the exact monitor at this time. Like,
okay. All right. So speaking of which, so you have a really nice setup because this is where you shoot a lot of videos. My setup is not quite so good, but I'll volunteer to show it off a little bit. So
I ain't showing mine off because I got.
You ready? All right. Yeah. So first of all, I'm gonna pull this down a little bit, and I gotta. Can you see the guinea pig cage? Just happens to be right in the middle of the room. So that's Rocco right there, just kind of hibernating. So I got a guinea pig right next to me. And then this is the actual desk. I hope you can see it. But I got paint cans. I'm using paint cans to hold up my laptop because I don't have a chair in here. This is going to be an office, and we're not quite done with the renovation. So I'm making the best of it. But you know what? It's totally fine. I wasn't ready for it. For me, it felt like we had the State of Digital Marketing address on Thursday, and we talked about it at length. Like, should we cancel? Should we go forward? And on Thursday, the coronavirus had not quite gotten here, or it certainly didn't feel like that. So it felt like a pretty safe call to go forward with it, which we did. But then by Friday, it seemed like things started to change rapidly. When the governor shut down the schools, I knew that was a big, big deal. And then also when Governor Trump got on TV at about 3:00 on Friday.
President Trump, not Governor Trump.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. President. Thank you very much. But it felt like, so you know what it felt like for me is almost like on Friday is when it really started to sink in. And then on Monday, it was shock and awe. So I felt like the beginning of this week, and for me personally, like I got hit hard. Like it really kind of took me down, took my morale down. And I started to think about worst case scenarios and who's going to need marketing and advertising. But as the week moved on, I realized that it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was from a business perspective, and people still need marketing. And actually, people are actively reaching out to us right now. Maybe not as many or the normal people as in the past, but we are getting leads coming in, and we're having sales calls left and right.
So I think what's interesting with kind of what you're saying there is like owning the dialogue, owning the narrative of your life. Right. And so we practice things when they're easy so that when tough times come through, we're more versed for that thing to go through. Right. And so I often talk about the parallels between fitness and business. Right. And so over the last few years, I've really gotten back into my fitness world. And because I've challenged myself with so many things there, I think that has actually helped in the business world, because then I've gone through some really tough things. I've had to challenge myself to go through tough things. And that allowed me in my mind to be thinking through that stuff when abrupt changes happen like this, right? I mean, literally, like there's a lot of things that we cannot control right now, but we can control the effort, right? And so you last year were big on resolutions. And I remember, you saying many times on the Journey to 100 podcast, quick little plug.
Journey to 100 million.
Whatever. You messed up. I messed up. Whatever. Journey to 100 million podcast. Like a lot of people like jokingly talk about putting together a resolution. And it's like, if you really want to do this, you gotta go after it. And so what's interesting to me is like, if you really want something to succeed in this time, like practice it in good times so that when the challenges come up, you're ready for it. And, even just a couple of weeks ago, I ran a marathon and there was, a couple minutes in there where it was really, really hard. And it's like, but I practiced and I wanted to go through stuff like that so that when real tough times, fitness, business, life, career, whatever comes through, I can be like, okay, what did I do when that challenging thing happened? And how can I use that, what I learned, to better get through this challenge?
Yeah.
And I think that's why we need to be challenging ourselves constantly. That's why we need to be doing things that are uncomfortable. We need to be thinking about doing things, quote unquote, out of the box. Like, hey, like our company, even though we have an office, even though Array Digital is a company that has an office that has multiple employees in there, you guys can basically on the dime work remotely. And I think because you guys were more on the forefront of that, it allows you to make this easier for you, if you will.
Well, I think you're right. And just like you said, we've practiced it. So like I was saying in the beginning, around the holidays for the last 2 weeks of 2019, we practiced it. We didn't know we were practicing it. We were just doing it. So we're used to it. So
but that's the thing. You have to practice these habits so that when
like
right. Because, you practice to win the games. Right. And so I've said this many times, and like you could go back and listen to some of my episodes from things many, many moons ago. It's like you're practicing so that when the game happens, you can win the game. Right. And so I love like professional sports, let's look at the NFL. They play 17 games a year. Now, apparently they play 16 games a year. Now they're going to play 17, but they only have to be on their A game really one time a week. And so they're practicing and preparing for that thing over and over and over again so that when that thing does happen, they're ready.
Yes. Now, what have you seen some companies do differently since, say, Monday than they would have than they've done in the past? Have you noticed changes in marketing?
The number one thing that I see is people playing like defense and copycat mode, right? Where like so-and-so posts one thing. So I'm sure many of you guys watching and listening have seen an email or received an email from a business or brand that maybe you do or do not frequent. And that email, the first one that you got was like, oh, okay, they're taking this seriously. Oh, this is great. And then you got that email again 10 minutes later and 15 minutes later and 30 minutes later. And it's kind of like your Black Friday holiday emails where they're all starting to look the same.
Yeah.
And so while I think businesses should take these things seriously, at the same time, I don't think the messaging should just be a straight and blatant copy and paste job, which is what I think a lot of people are doing. It's like, I'm Moe's and you're Chipotle and you posted this, so therefore I need to do this. I know that Chipotle posted this. I need to make sure that I post a very similar message to them. It's off brand. I think it starts getting annoying with people. I think like own your narrative. Like what would you normally say? And say it. If you normally wouldn't talk about something like this, is it an opportunity for you to get in front of it? Yes. But I think you have to be very cognizant of what your customers are looking for. Think about how many restaurants are saying, we're clean. Well, what were you before?
Mm-hmm.
Because that makes me question sitting there and going, well, were you not taking this cleaning piece of this seriously before? And I think a lot of people think about that, where it's just like, well, why are you telling me this now? Why didn't you tell me this, for the last 24 months when I've been a subscriber to your email list? Yeah. So now all of a sudden you're taking this seriously. And so
I mean, I get that it's relevant. It's much more relevant right now. But I like what you're saying about don't be a copycat, because the COVID-19 emails that I've seen, they're all the same. There are 4, 5, 6 paragraphs long. And frankly, the first 3, 4 paragraphs don't say anything besides they recognize that there's this thing called COVID-19 and it's serious. And I get through these emails and frankly, I don't even know if the company's still open or not. They're so vague. So like these companies that are like in-person kind of like retail spots or like gyms, the gyms have done this a lot. And I belong to 2 gyms. So I've received basically the same messaging from 2 different gyms where they talk about how clean they are, but then they talk about all these online options, and I'm just confused. All I want to know is, are you open or not? That's all I really care about. Frankly.
Do you think that some of these brands do you think a lot of those brands are saying stuff like that because they can't, because they don't want to give refunds or something?
I think there's certainly a component of that at play, because this is a significant economic event. And I think this is, personally, my take is that this is more of an economic event right now than a health event. Now, I'm not playing or downplaying the health implications of COVID-19 whatsoever. I understand that it's a virus and it's spreading like a virus, and we have to do this social distancing. It's absolutely mandatory, or else it would be rampant. But I think that we've taken these steps that are required in order to contain it. But the economic impact is going to be extreme for a while. Now, my thought is that, I mentioned like this first week that we're in right now and we're at the end of was shock and awe for everybody, right? So it was just unfathomable how many businesses were closing fast, within a couple of days, like everything's closed, everything's shut down, to the point where you're almost surprised, actually not even almost, you're totally surprised that some retail businesses are remaining open. At least I am. Mm-hmm. Now, it's Friday. I bet all of this shock and awe is just going to kind of simmer down over the weekend, because everyone's going to take off and they're going to be in their backyards, which I encourage you to do. Go outside, take a deep breath. Yeah. Next week is we're going to kind of settle into this, right? We're going to realize, okay, the shock and awe is going to have worn off. This is our new normal, and we're going to do that for another week. And my guess is that by week 3, there's going to be a lot of positive news coming out about the virus, and enough positive news where people say, you know what, I'm going to start easing back into my old normal. And so I think in about 2 weeks, we're going to start getting out more and feeling more comfortable going to the store and putting our credit card into the actual credit card machine and punching the numbers and touching stuff. It's going to start easing off at about week 3 or 4.
Yeah, what's interesting, but that's life and society in general, right? I mean, we live by whatever the topic of the day is, right? This topic of the day happens to be something longer, but you could really say maybe for an elongated period of time, but like when a hurricane hits, right? Or something crazy happens. I mean, this was all, but 4 weeks ago, all people were talking about was Kobe Bryant, right? And that was 2 weeks of Kobe Bryant, right? Obviously that doesn't have the same amount of impact that this does from a personal standpoint, but that's the way that people move. And so I think people are freaking out because they're just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it's like, and that's why I was saying, it's odd to me that people are so freaked out when it's like, you're already online all the time anyway, right? I mean, what's the number I've been throwing out for like a year? Like people consume 11 hours of media a day.
And 5,000 ads.
So it's not like those are real stats, Eric. Like, but these are real things that like, it'd be one thing if no one ever was in front of a computer. It'd be one thing if people weren't on Facebook for 4 hours a day. It'd be it'd be one thing if they didn't have Netflix to watch all day when a Netflix marathon, because Netflix hates the word binge, happens. Like there's 4 hours of people watching that. Nothing's different. You just don't go to work. Yeah. But you're still working. And so
one of the things, we talked about the emails, right? And
if you guys have questions, by the way, feel free to ask. I see Will.
Yeah,
and Stephen and Kevin and some other people.
What about them? They got questions or?
They're saying something. They're just saying hello, and I'm saying hello back because as a guest, apparently the host doesn't want to say hello back, so I'm going to say hello to the people.
I can't actually see the chat, but hello to the people.
I got like 19 screens open. Like I had to like pull out my Generation 1 iPad.
Yeah, see, I'm just focused on you, Zach, and only you. Although that's a lot because I also have Slack off to the side, and Sean is monitoring for questions, and he's feeding me those questions. So
Tim Ryan is saying hello, Tim. How was your run?
Tim, hey man, Boston, that's awesome, dude. You qualified. Good for you, man. Super excited
I'd
for
like
you.
to say that I was there to see him, but I was like 3 hours behind. So.
Hey, let's get back to those vague, boring emails. So COVID-19, you get these emails, you don't know what the hell they're saying. You don't know why frankly, why they're even sending these emails half the time. And, I think as marketers, and, this is playing, a lot of the attendees for this live cast are probably from Marketers Anonymous. So I wanted to bring this kind of into context about how marketers can be leaders and should be leaders in times like this, but also in all times. But I think as a marketer, it's very, very important that you make sure that your organization has a human touch behind these kinds of things. Like I've received emails from one-man shops. I know that there's only one person that works there, and they don't even sign their name to the bottom of these COVID-19 emails. Like that's just, I don't think that's a very good place. So I think you need to humanize what's going on and then give people very tangible, actionable things they can do. So we did not send one of those emails. We had talked about it. We had a couple of drafts going around, and frankly, I hated them. And instead, what I did is I got my phone. It's very, very simple. I opened up the recorder, the video recorder, and I did a selfie video to our clients, and I gave them a couple of ideas to use going forward. So as an example for their messaging, instead of just saying, it's here and wash your hands, like they know that, right? That message has gotten out. They don't need you to repeat that message. Tell them how it's going to impact something that you can do or that you're involved with. So as an example, if you're a financial advisor, don't just say wash your hands, say COVID-19 is here and here's my predictions on how it's going to affect your 401k. Or if you are a retailer, and I know we talked about this before as far as the cleanliness, maybe you could say we normally clean our space once a day. Now we're cleaning it once an hour. Or every time we receive money from a client, our employees are required to now wash their hands. Something very, very concrete versus we're doing a real good job cleaning. Because when someone says to me in an email, a canned email that they clearly copied from someone else, that they're keeping their place clean, honestly, I tend to just not believe it. I believe things that are concrete. So if they say that they're cleaning every single seat and table every hour, that I believe. If they just say we're doing a real good job cleaning, I blow it off. I don't believe it. So I think you should be very tangible and actionable.
Also in that same, I think vein is the right word, in that same sphere, don't look desperate. I mean, some of these companies are looking so desperate during these times. And it's like, guys, like, what is going on? Like you look so weak. And then like people are like, you're trying to be a leader in that. And it's like you acting so weak as a business owner or the person pushing this stuff. It's like, be more proactive in this stuff, be more on the offense. Like I think Kevin Daisy had posted the other day, like it's like I think you even showed me a post of someone who sent out saying like, I'm closing my business if I can't, if I can't get you to buy a bunch of gift cards.
So it was on Monday. It was from a local Norfolk-based business. And so it was basically, in my opinion, day one of shock and awe. And they sent out an email to all their clients, and we were a previous client of theirs, saying, we need your help to survive. Please buy gift cards today at a 20% discount to use in the future, or else we're going under. And I think that's a very weak message because number one, when I get a message like that where you're saying that you need me to give you money to survive, number one, that tells me you haven't managed your business very well. But number two, I really question whether I'm ever going to get the value of that gift card. So if I spend $100 on a gift card,
right, because they're going to close their business before then anyway.
Right. So what happens if no one else gives money? Right now, all of a sudden, I'm stuck with this gift card, and I just made a donation to not even a charity.
I think there's a way that people probably, in that sense. Also, so like in situations like that, I don't think that's something that you post on social. I think that's something that maybe you go back to, and maybe it was a social post, maybe it wasn't. I think I've seen a social post too on something similar like that, and like stuff that should be one-to-one, some stuff that should be humanized. you should humanize, right?
Exactly.
Don't send out these blast emails that actually should be one-on-one conversations. I've said this for years. I wrote about an anomaly. The big thing is like have one-on-one conversations with people. It's like my buddy Erik Olson is in the restaurant industry. Erik Olson, my buddy Chris Hill is in the restaurant industry, and he was telling me about yesterday how people are freaking out about this. People are freaking out about this. And I was like, well, let's go on my show. We'll do it live and we'll do it next week, and we can talk about through that. And it's like you can't just dwell on stuff. Like you got to give people things to actually like be thinking about to fix stuff, not just like tell people how desperate you are, because then people are like, well, if you're desperate, like I'm seeing all these things like save small businesses, and it's like, guys, well, where were you the last 3 years in some of this stuff?
Yeah. Hey, let me make one more point, and then let's go to a couple of questions. I got a few questions queued up. So the other point was the humanize and make sure that your message gets to the right person. So I talked before how I grabbed my phone and I recorded a video. And what we did is on Friday, we actually sent that out by email to our clients. And we used HubSpot so we can see how many people opened the email. And the open rate was only 50%. And I was like, I got to get this video to our clients. What is stopping us from getting this video to these clients? How can I better deliver it? And so what we did is we gathered all of the cell phone numbers up for our clients, and we put them
only 50%. Only 50% were opening it.
Only 50. Yeah, exactly. So either they chose to not open it, or it went to spam, or it went to promotions. But I was like, I got to get this right to our clients. And so we, just like with Marketers Anonymous, we can send text messages to whatever grouping of people that we want. We loaded up all of our customers' cell phone numbers into a list, and we sent them a text message with that video, and the open rate was through the roof.
Well, I mean, I think, but to double down on that, it's that process shouldn't be crisis focused. That process should always be there. And I think that's where people really need to be thinking about this, right? Where it's like, someone isn't opening my email. Great. Where else can I communicate with them to give them that message? What is the sandbox that they play in? And where can I provide them that information? Because I know they want to hear it. I believe they want to hear it. And I believe I can help them. So what do I need to do whatever I can to get them that message, right? And I think this is where so many people will continue to mess up, because they'll say, well, I sent the email. Great. But only 50% of the people opened up. And then if you do a tweet and only 2% people see it, you still have 48% of other things. Where else can you message this person? Do you need to text them? Do you need to call them? Where do you need to find them? Maybe it needs to be on a Facebook Live. Wherever those people are that need to hear a message, you need to make sure that they see it. And if they don't see it, then that's on you. Like, it's your responsibility as the brander, as the marketer, as the CEO, as the president of the communications person, is for you to make sure that person sees it. And if that means that you have to go and write a handwritten letter to that person to say, go to this link to watch this so that you can see it, or send them a USB drive or whatever, like,
it's your responsibility as a person communicating to get the message there. Yeah.
It's your fault.
So speaking of which, all right, I got a question here. This was copy and pasted to me, so I assume that this is exactly the question, but it's from Ken Boxer. What specific things can businesses take at this time? And I believe what he means is, what measures can we take at this time? So I think what Zach was just talking about is spot on. You got to make sure that, well, first of all, get your message right. Don't copy and paste the message that you're receiving from these big corporations, where when number one, you don't even read it because it's so long. You're like, I'm not reading that crap. And then number two, when you do read it, you don't know what the hell they're actually saying or doing, or if they're open or not. Come up with your own message straight from the heart. You don't need to remind people that COVID-19 is here and has had a big impact. They know, trust me, they already know that. Just get right to the point. So keep it short, keep it very specific, and make sure that it's very clear what the message is. And then, just like what Zach was saying, figure out how to get it to them. It could be Facebook, LinkedIn, it could be DMs, it could be text messages. Write a handwritten note if you have to, right? Just do whatever it takes to get that message to the person.
And I think this is actually a time where you don't want to be cute, right? So like, I think oftentimes we, as marketers, try to get too cute on stuff to try and get people to read stuff. This is times like where you're saying like, Well, I've said this before, like where it's like, what's your subject line, right? Your subject line should be what the damn message is going to be about, right? So if you're closed, the subject line shouldn't be COVID update. No, it should be we're closed,
Right.
so that people can
Yeah.
see that. And then if they want to see more, it's like we overcomplicate this. Like, what's the message that you want to get across? And if you need to say that 3 times, say it. But it's like, even were you just saying that like One Life, you didn't even know if they were open? But they
Correct.
weren't.
Yeah, because they were talking about online classes, and I didn't know if they were open. I had to call them. So even though they had an entire web page that was dedicated to COVID-19, it was all about like online classes and whatnot. I just wanted to know if the pool was open. That was it. So I had to call. I had to go find out.
So we got a couple questions and statements from other people as well. Stephen Reinstein says, our team is working overdrive. Stephen Reinstein at the team at Market Muscles. His team is working overdrive to support their brick and mortar clients. So they create martial arts focused websites for businesses all across the world. And they're supporting our brick and mortar clients, and they're absolutely thriving right now. Virtual martial arts training is so valuable for parents and children stuck at home. You know, they got stuff to do. Chris Ruddick says, what is some good messaging at this time?
So I think the messaging is what you can, okay, so from a business perspective, right? What can your business do to help people with their business? All right. So like as marketers right now, what I'm telling our clients are things like, this is what I sent out yesterday, I think it was. So I did 2 videos so far. One was last Friday, one was yesterday. The second video was all about how social media is your communications channel to the world. So use social media differently today than you did last week. Last week, you were posting about specials, or you were just trying to build brand awareness, or just get a couple of likes and maybe drive people back to your website to who knows what, buy something or call you, whatever. Now use it as a communications channel, right? So this is your bully pulpit. This is where you can have a megaphone literally and tell all of your clients what they need to know. Get that message out through social media. And I did that because it's just a slight paradigm shift, right? People don't use social media as their mechanism for getting communications out quite like they should, in my opinion. And I think everything's changed. We now have the ability to do that directly. So use it for everything it's worth.
You know, I think, you know, being transparent in these times too, like what's going on. Like there are times where you can just tell people what's going on. Hey, we are okay. We are going to stay open for business. We work remotely. We want to let you guys know that so that you're not in question. At the same time, though, like I send out an email every 10:15 every Monday morning. I haven't sent an in-between email because it's unnecessary for me to do that, right? I don't think that I need to send a message to my followers that are subscribers on my emails to just say, hey, here's the update. Monday at 10:15, they're going to see a message from me, and it might actually be in line with the things that are going on in the world right now, but I'm not going to email them something early because it's unnecessary. And I think sometimes people are pushing stuff out there that is unnecessary. If nothing's changed in your world from what you normally send them, don't just send them something, right? It's unnecessary. And I think all too often people are like, they're playing the, oh, so-and-so did it game. I need to do that too. And it's like, hold on. You don't need to do that because it's unnecessary. And that person might actually lose confidence in you because you're posting things just because other people are, right? Like 10:15 Monday morning, you'll get a message from me like you normally do. But I don't need a Thursday 10:15 a.m. because everyone else is doing it. Like, own your narrative, do what you normally do. If there's something to say it. But when you need to have one-on-one messages with people, do that. Chris says, now is a good time. Finish this sentence. Now is a good time too, and now is not a good time too.
All right. So for us, there's 2 things that we're doing right now that are not wildly different than everything that we've done before. We're just doing more of them. And so we're going on offense and we're going on defense. So from an offensive perspective, social media is what we do. Live streams, we've been doing live streams for a while now. These in-person events we can't do. So we need to do more of the things that we can do, live streams, social media. So we're double, tripling down on social media. And we're putting out a lot of positive messages. So think about some of the positive things that are happening in your business. Yeah. You got a new client. You just launched a product. You got an award. Like we just got a Small Business of the Year award from the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much. Chamber of Commerce and everybody else. But yeah, but we put that out once like last week because we got it on Thursday. Well, let's talk about it again. It's still very, very relevant. So if there's something positive happening in your business, and I'm sure there is, talk about that. And then
so hold on. So with that though, positive, because literally, if you go online and just scroll and scroll and scroll, all you're going to see is things that are going to scare you, are going to freak you out, are going to be negative, are going to be, unfortunately political. Like, and it's going to infect you to think, oh my God, this is so bad. This is so negative. When actually, I love what you're doing with this. From a positivity standpoint, it's like, hold on. Like, I want people to think of me as a positive brand. If I just start doing negative things like everyone else, then they're going to start thinking about me as a negative brand when I could be this positive thing in there, which is incredibly important. Like, people don't need to be scrolling for 12 hours on Facebook to hear something that's not changed in hours. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's good that people are posting those things. Maybe not to the frequency that they might have once done. Maybe you slow down a little bit, but like
slow down on the posting
of maybe.
So this is where we differ in opinion. If you're saying slow down, I'm saying just the opposite. Pick it up.
I was saying
I'm not saying push, sell, but I think that you need to double down on the messaging that gets out there.
Yes, I think you need to continue to push things out there. I was saying more of there are some posts out there that people probably have built into their social schedulers that they need to go through and make sure makes sense. That's what I mean by slowing down some of this stuff.
Okay.
Because so I saw something the other day that was basically talking about like the world is saying don't touch people's hands, right? And there was clearly a scheduled message that someone put out that had people touching hands like crazy. And it's like, hold on. That's probably not the right time for something like this. Yeah. You probably need to slow stuff like that down because if not, you're going to that looks kind of bad.
Yeah. I think it was early Thursday morning. I woke up in the middle of the night. It was like 2 a.m. on Thursday. And I was just thinking about these things. And I went in Facebook to a bunch of our competitors. So I just wanted to see what they were posting about. Some of them hadn't posted in 3 or 4 weeks. I couldn't believe it. And so this is pre-coronavirus world. They were posting about stuff that's frankly irrelevant. So I think that was a big no-no, is that they were so paralyzed. They didn't even know what to do, is my assumption. They were paralyzed by this. And then some others, they posted like, make sure you wash your hands. Yeah, I know. I get it.
A brand that would never post something like that is posting stuff like that. It's so off-brand.
And then there was yet another one where it was a picture of St. Patrick's Day, and they were wishing everyone to have a happy St. Patrick's Day. And I thought, that's like tone deaf. Like, I mean, it's irrelevant right now in this world. Like, and we've had these conversations internally, like, should we like get off the topic of what's going on with COVID-19 and kind of get back to normal? And it's just too early. This is very similar, in my opinion, to 9/11. Where like in an instant, everything changed and you knew everything changed. And this is all that people talked about for, I don't know, a month or two,
20 years.
I remember. Yeah. Well, but like nothing else besides 9/11 for at least the first month. Like TV commercials were non-existent. It was just nonstop programming for probably around a month or so. This feels very, very similar to that.
Really? You think so? I don't, but okay.
Well, that's the closest analogy I have, is that we weren't expecting it. Everything was fine. And then bam, basically in an instant, everything changed. And for me, that was Monday morning.
Okay. I can get behind that style of it.
Okay. Actually, before we get on to Will Driscoll's question, Will, be patient. I got it right in front of me. So we talked about offense and defense. So from a defensive standpoint, I think it's prudent for any company, no matter how bullish you are or confident you are in your ability to produce revenue and to weather this financial storm, I think it's prudent to look at your expenses right now and just start cutting the unnecessary. So we started cutting stuff, a couple of tools that we have that are nice to have, but we were already debating whether we wanted them or not. We cut them. Mm-hmm. And even if it's like $15, $20 a month, just get rid of it. You don't need it. There's a couple other things. Perks. So there's some employee perks that I cut. So like one of them was the gym membership. We would pay for the membership. The employee pays like $5 a month out, or $5 a paycheck. So we pay for the bulk of the gym membership. It's, first of all, the gyms are closed, but second of all, it's just not necessary right now. It's a nice to have perk, but my priority is keeping the company afloat and keeping the team intact, and that requires cash. My objective is not to provide a perk that basically you could take or leave. So, some of those things we just had to cut, and I tried to explain it as well as I could to the team that some of these things are just not necessary. It won't matter in the short term or the long term, and they just got to go. Preserve some cash, not anything drastic. We haven't let anyone go. I don't plan on it. But you also don't know what's going to happen, what the ripple effect is going to be in a couple of weeks. So you have to be prepared. Think about some small defensive tactics you can take.
I also think that, to answer Chris's question, now is not a good time to like do things that you wouldn't normally do, right? And so like, I think it's okay to produce content that is talking about something that you do and relating it to whatever that crisis moment is. But what you have to be very cautious and cognizant of is when that thing goes away, can you still pull that audience in? Because you don't want to build a brand that's solely focused on something. You don't want to expand your brand on something solely focused on this. And then when this thing goes away, which inevitably it will, hopefully sooner than later, you don't know what to talk about. And so like the things that I'm posting about are like, hey, like what we've been talking about, what is your messaging? Are you sure that that message is something that you would normally say? Because if not, you shouldn't be saying that. Also, I think, you saying being on offense and defense, like don't be posting anything negative right now. Also, don't get into like, I always believe this, but don't start posting political things, right? Also, on your personal stuff, don't start posting things that are gonna screw you and lose clients because your clients are looking at you on your personal page. You say something in a rant and they get angry. That's something, again, I keep saying this, crisis or not, I believe you should never be doing, because I think that you potentially you pigeonhole yourself into a situation where you can't get out of, and that person sees that and you're tied to the business that they're paying, and now they're ticked off that you said that thing. Like, Don't say things like that. Like, be very, like, I don't think I've ever posted anything political in my life online, right? Like, but you see a lot of people posting stuff like that right now, and it's like, but your brand is tied to this. You have a lot of clients. Like, be careful what you're saying in this world, because you might be losing a client because you just posted something political that is so irrelevant, so unnecessary, and is going to hurt your business rather than help them. Now, if you built a business off of posting those things, sure, continue to post those things. But all too often, people just post to post, and it's like, whoa, like, you own a business, you have employees, like, why are you saying something like that? Like, be cautious and stuff like that.
Yep. All right, let's get to Will Driscoll's question. So Will is the executive director of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, and just scanning.
Grad. Went to Temple, University of Temple, or Temple College, or Temple University,
or something like that. Is that his exact stat? Is that for real?
No, it's real. He went to Temple. He'll tell you that.
All right, I am watching the Array Digital Facebook Live right now between Zack and Erik. Great resource, by the way. Thank you. Appreciate that. My question is, how are you able to do Facebook Live split screen from your business page? I have a Hall of Fame podcast that is on hold because the studio is used to restricted, or studio use is restricted. I get it.
Okay, so basically, go to a studio to do it.
Yeah. So as far as the technical aspects, I'm going to have to defer to someone else. But we are using Google Hangouts right now, so I know that that's how Zack and I are face to face, and we're using a live streaming. Sean, want to whisper in my ear? What is it called? Sure, go ahead and pop on the air. Yep.
Hey, Will. This
Ladies
is Sean.
and gentlemen.
Hey, Will. This is Sean. I'm the disembodied voice. So I am the ad specialist for Array, and I also do live streaming in my spare time. The program that we're using is called Streamlabs OBS. It is a freeware that you can go get online right now, and you can look up a bunch of tutorials online. Basically, you're going to need a stream key and a stream URL that Facebook will give you. And then once you input that into Streamlabs, it will go ahead and send off to Facebook. And if you use a product like Restream, you can stream to multiple platforms at once.
Which is what we're doing. Now, hold on, Sean. Stay on there. So,
sure thing.
So I think the way I think you would, I would imagine you would agree that the way that we're doing is probably complex as compared to a system like Zoom.
Yes, so this is something that's a little bit more advanced and is something that's going to reach a broader audience in general. But there's still plenty of things you can do. Like you could, for instance, record a video portion of your podcast and put that up on YouTube after the fact. This is something that's a little bit more technical, a little bit more advanced, but is obviously something that's attractive, especially when people are home right now. I can tell you just from preliminarily looking at the stats of this, watching it, monitoring it, this is one of our most successful live streams, and that has the fact to deal not only that Zach is here, but also that the quarantine is happening right now. Everyone's at home, and this is the way that is good to like leverage that and engage with your audience.
But I think the key to what is happening too here is that it's 2020 and technology is very different than it was in 2010. And that's what I've been saying this whole time. Like this stuff, like what Sean is saying is literally copy and paste stuff. It's not hard. There's no code in it. OBS, OPS, like I used to use that all the time when like it was really hard to do Facebook Lives. Like things are way easier now than they used to be. And so, Will, if you want to do this, I'm sure you can reach out and they'll show you how to do this. But like this stuff is way easier. I would say the most important thing out of this is making sure that your computer has enough bandwidth to actually handle some of this stuff is actually the biggest challenge with this more than anything at this point.
Well, I think the biggest challenge for most people that are watching is probably trying to figure out why there is a buff naked man behind you, Zach. Like what? What the hell is that all about, man?
Okay, well,
who got that for you, anyways?
Okay, well, that is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So last year, about probably December of 2018, I had gone on one of my podcasts and said, hey, I just moved into this office in my house, and I was like, I think there was some blank stuff behind. And I was like, oh, what would be really nice is if, I had a poster of The Rock. And then a listener, Erik J. Olson, decides to surprise me with a poster in the mail. And by the way, it was very, very odd because I get this poster in the mail of The Rock. By the way, if I was to buy a poster of The Rock, it wouldn't have been Speedo Rock. Just want to make sure that everyone knows that. But Erik wanted to make sure.
I was going to get you a Speedo.
You wanted to be Speedo. Maybe it was... what's the word, apropos of the Ironman race that we're doing and the way that you swim in the pool?
Oh, maybe yeah. I wear tights all the time now. Yeah. It's great.
But I said it, and then it shows up, and like literally I had no idea it was Erik. And it shows up, and I like asked my wife, like, did you give me this Rock poster? And like it was this like it took me about 4 hours to figure out who did it. And then finally, homeboy over here, Erik J. Olson, longtime listener of Zack Miller Says show, got it, and I've put it up. And it's honestly, it's an icebreaker now too. And I'm a big fan of icebreakers because I think most people are like, oh, what do you do for a living? When people now are like, why the hell is there a picture of The Rock back there? And obviously The Rock is a fantastic human being, and people should be excited about what that guy has done with his life.
All right, Zach, I think we got to wrap it up. I actually got a 1 o'clock call. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's been a lot of fun, but hey, thank you for joining us. Why don't you let the listeners at home know how to get in touch with you?
Oh boy. Okay. You can follow me anywhere on the internet at Zack Miller Says. That's the website. That's all my handles. That's everything. It's ZACK Miller Says. Also, from a marketing perspective, if you have handles or a website that doesn't match, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. It's a huge and very easy way to market yourself by saying one thing instead of people being like, oh, you can find me at Zack Miller Says on Instagram or, on Facebook at Zack_Miller, whatever. Go to the website. This is ZackMiller.com. It's all one thing. Zack Miller Says. All the handles are the same. The website is the same. So if you have time right now, which you might at home, make sure that all of your handles on your website match one thing, because then you can market, follow me at Zack Miller Says.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
All right. With that, let's wrap it up. Thanks, Zach. Thank you, Sean.
Oh,
well done.
Some pancakes.